Welcome back to the Shop Build series. In this video, we're going to be putting up drywall over the soundboard we installed in the last episode. It took about 11 sheets of drywall, a whole lot of caulk, and 200 or so screws to cover the walls in the shop. This process was just a little different from installing drywall normally, and we'll go over those differences here in a minute. This is a drywall square. It's flat on one side with a lip on the top. This makes it easy to ride along flat surfaces and trace with a knife in order to cut the panels to size. Drywall might be the easiest material in construction to cut and shape. Simply score the front paper with a knife, apply pressure at the score until it snaps, and cut the paper on the back. With a little bit of practice, you can get clean, straight cuts just about every time. Now, I'm sure you've noticed me putting an ample amount of caulk on every section before I put up the drywall. If you haven't already, you should go watch the soundboard video for more information on the sound dampening process. But let me quickly reiterate why this is important. Our 2x4 walls have been caulked and paper wrapped to reduce sound transfer to the outside of the building, and a layer of soundboard on top of that. According to the manufacturer's documents, you should attach the drywall to the soundboard with only adhesive. But seeing how fragile the soundboard is, I'm not trusting my sheetrock to be held by just that, so we're throwing in a few screws as well. If you're familiar with the soundproofing or sound dampening process, you're probably also familiar with green glue. I'm using caulk as a green glue substitute simply to save expense. However, the trolls online tell me that green glue is pretty much just caulk dyed green. I don't know, I'm not a glue scientist, but I do know that this caulk holds the sheets together and makes them hard to separate. And since I'm adding screws anyway, that's good enough for me. So if you haven't caught on already, the steps I'm using go like this: caulk, sheetrock, a couple of screws driven halfway to hold the sheetrock in place while I make the necessary cutouts with the rotary tool, and a few more screws driven with the dimpling bit to leave a perfect surface for the next step, which is mud. Other than the standard multi-purpose bucket from the hardware store, the mud I'm using is Easy Sand 90 because it's got a faster dry time. I mix the powder in with water to the desired consistency, slap some on the wall and smooth it out with a knife to fill the screw holes. And this is why it's so important to use either a drywall screw gun or something like a dimpler bit that I'm using. The part I struggled with the most was taping the seams. Figuring out the right amount of mud to use and how wet or dry to keep the tape eluded me for at least the first 2 joints. But with a little bit of helpful advice from somebody who has experience in the subject, I was able to get the entire room done without many more issues. Drywall tape is basically a strip of paper with a crease down the middle, and the mud is the adhesive. Together they harden to form a bond between the 2 sheets of drywall at the seams, essentially creating one large seamless panel that doesn't show any flaws once it's painted. That's the goal, at least. My mud work on these walls is very skinny compared to a lot of drywallers with more experience. Creating a wider mud trail makes for a much more gradual transition and hides the patched sections easier. Once the mud work is all done, the wall is sanded, smoothing out the transitions, hopefully making a visually flat canvas for primer and paint. In the next video, you guessed it, we're going to be putting on some paint. And not just any paint. I've got a 3-tone color scheme in mind, and I think you're going to like it. I've got links to everything used in this video down in the description below. Purchasing anything from those links supports me and my channel and helps me keep making these videos. I want to thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, or if you want to tell me what a horrible job I did destroying these walls with my lack of drywall skills, then go ahead and post that in the comments too. And until the next video, you guys have a good one. Ha ha!